Welcome to the Afghanistan Project Podcast. I am your host, Beth Bailey, and I am happy to introduce today's guest, Kreshma Fakhri. Kreshma has a master's degree in political science and a bachelor's degree in Persian literature from Kabul University. She started her journalism career in 2009, and since then her work has been published in various local and international media. She's worked as an investigative reporter on issues such as corruption, human rights abuses, and violence against women and children. Kreshma, it's really a pleasure to have you joining me. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Beth. I want to also say hello to all your audience, and I'm also happy to be in this episode with you.
Yeah, we have a lot of really important things to talk about, including Zan Times, which you are working on, and all of the incredible work that y'all are able to do highlighting issues for women. I understand Zan means women, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm so excited to get to highlight that too, but also to hear just your story and kind of bring those two things together and remind people of what women have faced and continue to face inside of Afghanistan. So, yeah, it's really a pleasure to have your incredible insights here. So, Kreshma, you've had a really lengthy journalism career. You've clearly covered a lot of topics in Afghanistan that are controversial at the best of times. Did you ever feel unsafe as a reporter prior to the Taliban's takeover? And if so, can you tell me about some of those incidents?
Of course, yeah. Being a journalist in Afghanistan, especially a woman, it was not easy even before Taliban take over. During the 2 decades of democratic regime in Afghanistan. Afghan girls and women, as a journalist, they tried a lot to find the opportunity and to show the society that they are able to work like a man, like a man and the other male colleagues. And during this long way, we lost some of our colleagues. They even lost their life, and they struggled a lot. And I can mention that, for example, for myself, when I started, even my working area was mostly focused on Kabul. But even in the capital, I had problems with accessing the sources, with accessing the information. In that time, as we were focusing on human rights issues and corruption cases in governmental offices. That time, for a journalist like me, it was hard to access the information. And while focusing on restricted issues, we faced threat and with bad reactions. Even I remember in one of my report, it was like about the curriculum of it was the corruption on schools curriculums. In that time, when I collected my all information, and my last source was from Ministry of Education. So I had a very bad experience from there. When I went for a long time, I tried to manage a interview time, and they were not willing to give me a chance to interview with them. After a long time, when they let me to talk with them in their office, after asking serious questions, one of the colleagues, I don't want to name him, tried to talk badly with me, and just even they said, you're not a journalist, you're like a spy, you're trying to destroy us, and why you're mentioning in such these issues. So it was a very normal reaction, and that time. And even I remember another, it was like one case. I was reporting on there was a market in Kabul in fifth district. It was there was a fire. The building was in fire, and I was trying to report normally an issue on the Friday. As the Friday is in Kabul, it's off day, like weekend. That day, I was working as a journalist because we didn't have the off days. So when I went to the area to cover the event, even one of the security officer just told me, "What are you doing here? It's Friday, and you need to be at your home. It's not your job to come in outside." So I'm just mentioning these just to say, even inside the Kabul, we were facing such a situation. The not accessing the sources, even the think of the even the inside the government offices, the people were not thinking good about us, and they were not expecting us as a journalist. They were telling us to go home and stay inside. What are you doing in this day and in this place? And also, I have lots of bad experience and that I faced during my work. Even one time I received threat calls as I was working on a healthcare center that they had the not profession doctors. They were using the foreign people as a doctor. Just they were trying to say that this medical center is very good, and they have very good doctors from outside. So and we had focusing on a case that a woman went for a treatment, and after an hour of she just lost her life because the doctor was not educated, and with the anesthesia she just reacted and passed away. So even I received a threat call from that hospital, and from the even another was from when I was working on the cases of divorces. One of my source that I just interviewed with her. She shared his husband's number. I was trying to just talk with him to know what's the situation and why they are trying to divorce him. Even they treated me and told me bad things and treat me and just we will not let you be alive, and it was such a normal. And I don't know how can I explain all these. When we were going to some in governmental offices, it was okay, but in society, when we were covering the issue that was an open society and we need to talk with the different people, it was not easy to us, and most of the time we face. But if they didn't treat us, they were seeing us not such a good person, and they just reacted really bad, and it was not easy to continue. But we tried to continue and show them that as they are thinking is not correct, and we are trying to our best to do our responsibility.
That's so brave. It takes a lot of bravery to be a journalist in, I mean, here in the US, right? But I have never heard someone who is a journalist in here talk about threats on, these very difficult topics that you're covering, just to show, I mean, divorce in Afghanistan was such an important thing that women could get a divorce, and now that right's gone, and you can understand why. And here people get divorced all the time. I'm divorced. It's not something that culturally creates such divisiveness and hatred, and it just shows what you're up against. I just think it's so brave that you kept doing that work despite all of those threats. I think Afghan women are some of the most brave people on the planet to keep going in those circumstances. And this was all prior to the Taliban's takeover. So I wonder, in this whole lead up to when the Taliban took control of Afghanistan, when did you realize that continuing to report inside your country was not going to be possible anymore?
Just to mention that it was not, I just left Afghanistan before Taliban took over. I left on 2017, and it was also not a normal situation that I was willing to leave my country. It was also belongs to my work and my last report that was focusing on a corruption case of a powerful man that he had linked with the governmental authorities. So it was the reason that after receiving threat for myself and my family, it caused that I left Afghanistan in 2017. Yeah.
I see. So this, I can now understand. So many threats, so much. It, that must have been very difficult. What was that process like? Because obviously it's so different from a lot of people I've had on this podcast or that I've chatted with over the last 3.5 years who left during, the chaotic withdrawal. What was the process like for you of coming to the US and then having to watch the country fall to the Taliban from here?
I had experienced when I left my country, I faced a situation even worse than I had in Afghanistan. I left Afghanistan and my destination was in Turkey. I didn't have at that time the opportunity to choose myself where should I go, but I was just searching a place that I and my family could be in safe. For 6.5 years, I was in a very bad situation in Turkey, in a very small town I located. And for around 3 or 4 years, I was completely depressed, and I was suffering depression and being and thinking about what I was and what happened to me and why I'm here, and the situation in the third countries is not good. Even in the mostly in the Asian countries and the countries near Afghanistan, because they don't have any opportunity for work, for education, for having as a human a right as a human in those countries. So these were the hardest situation that I suffered during my life, and but I had still my contacts with my colleagues who were inside Afghanistan and following what's going on until the Taliban again took over. And that time I had some sources in female police officers that I had a topic before leaving Afghanistan. Just one of them texted me a message from Messenger that she had from the time that I was working on a visual report on them. So she just messaged me and asked me for help. That she said that we are not in a good situation and we need your help to raise our voice. So it was a time that I was not in a situation that I was myself was in a situation that nobody was hearing me and understand me what what I was feeling that time. So this message just caused that I try to contact with some of my colleagues. Just I said that I received such a message, and if it's possible to work on it. And then one of them showed willingness and said, yeah, it's good to work. And it was again another step that I start my work from exile. And I started from this report about the women police officers and an army that in which situation they are right now. They were in a hide, and they said that they can't live in their houses that they had before, and they have to be in secret places, and they are every month, and they need to change their location to be safe from Taliban. And also they said that they have economic problem, and they sold out all their valuable items that they had to suffer from that situation. So it was a topic that I worked. Then I connected with other colleagues. That then I started again to work from Turkey, and I was in a phone call and tried to collect the facts. Even I just was trying to contact those friends that they were still in Afghanistan, and trying to find the sources from them asking. So it was the second steps that I just started my career again as a journalist.
How did that feel? I wasn't planning on asking you this, but how did that feel to return to the work that, you know, I can only imagine for myself if I had, had such a drastic life change, but then got to get back into the work, how that would feel to me. But what was it like for you?
Um, uh, I it was it had the two side that one side I was feeling well. Uh, then I was thinking that I'm not because I didn't mention that when I was first located in Turkey, I just thought that I'm nothing and I'm in zero level, and after this nothing will be okay. And but when I started working and when they contacted me and asked me for just help and raising their voice, then I I thought that I'm not nothing and I can still do something, and I have still an opportunity that even those women, they are not inside Afghanistan. I can raise their voices, and this thinking was just giving me some power to work and struggle with to be again as a journalist. At the other side, listening the worst situation that even worse than I faced just was not giving me good feelings. It was also hurting me as a Afghan, as a woman, and as a journalist. But at the other hand, it was giving me just the motivation to be still as active as a journalist and still work and raise the voices that they don't have opportunity to be heard.
Yeah, I feel that. I went through a divorce the first year after the fall of Kabul to the Taliban. And I think the only thing that kept me going was that I was telling other people's stories and they needed me. And it was really important. And I felt the same way, where now I have value because I felt completely valueless while I was going through that divorce process and losing my marriage and all of that. But people needed me, and I knew that what they were going through was worse than what I was going through, and they needed me. And I totally understand that feeling. It's powerful and hard, and but also I think part of, you know, the difficulty of dealing with the depression and things like that is you have to remember what is bigger than you that you can be part of again. And like, I'm so glad you were able to do that. And I'd love to hear about where Zan Times fits into your story, when it started, how you got involved, and all of that, information.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, yeah, just they are all linked with each other. As I said, after starting the work again as a journalist, then one of the colleague that I reconnected with her was Zahra Nader, who is now our editor-in-chief in Zan Times. We just worked before in one newsroom in Afghanistan. But after she left Afghanistan and I left Afghanistan, we didn't have connection. But the starting work and they just reconnect us. And that time, I with Sahra worked together with a few topics, and it was published from the Time magazine, and I think one was from on a Guardian. I don't exactly remember that. So we just working together on the stories. Zahra was in Canada, I was in Turkey, and we were trying to uh, find the resources and the interviewees from Afghanistan. So one day I remember I just was in the street and going to the hospital in Turkey, that I received a call from Zahra and asked me, do you have time? I want to talk with you. Then we just talked as usual, but she suddenly said that I want to make a website. Are you with me? And she said we don't have anything right now, no financial support and nothing. But if you are with me, I want to start a work, and it's not clear when we should be able to find sources, funding sources, or the other. But it was like I said, yes, I am with you, and it's not no matter that if we have funding or any financial support. I said just I want to be myself, and no matter what's happening. So it was like the same. She called with the other colleagues that we have had connection from our last experience. So it was the time that we focused to start on a website. Even that time, there was not clear. So what should be the name of the this website? And after talking a lot, and we just it was from colleagues' suggestion that it is good to put the name of Zan. Zan means a woman. Zan Times, and it was a combination of Farsi and English. But we thought that it can be even for the audience. It can be like a question. What does mean Zan? So they will found so that Zan is women, and they will recognize that what we are trying to say through this website. So then we start our work from Zan Times, through Zan Times. And from the beginning, Zahra, she was in Canada, just spent all her saving money that she collected during her student time. But it was not for to pay to us, but it was for those colleagues who are inside Afghanistan, because the situation for them was not like as outside. So we need to pay them because the situation was not normal. And for around 9 months, so we worked without any sources. But Zahra was spending her own saving money to pay for the Afghan journalists, that those colleagues who were inside Afghanistan. And we started with a huge number of colleagues. They were in different provinces. And first we start from publishing news, then focused on the feature stories, and then we recognize that it's better to have investigative reports on the issue that's not able to pay attention on the other media outlets. So this was the process how Zan Times came out as a Afghan media outlet, and so I can totally say that it was it comes from our disappointing from other sources and discussed that we try ourselves to just make a platform to raise the voices, the untold voices from Afghanistan.
Absolutely, because as I'm assuming that most listeners realize that media under the Taliban has been completely crushed unless it says what they want to have out, and it's been very difficult to get. I've worried because of things like women being banned from training as nurses and midwives, that you're going to see a huge return to the high maternal mortality rates and high infant mortality rates that happened under the previous Taliban regime, that, you know, 20 years of work brought those numbers. I think they at least halved them. And now, where are women going to get that support? And it's just so important to have these stories out, because the Taliban don't want the numbers out. They don't want people to know the rate of suicide inside of Afghanistan right now. They want a lot of the facts on the ground quashed. And so it's so important that that Afghan journalists are continuing to tell the truth, even if they have to do it, you know, under pseudonyms or whatnot. And I read a few of your most recent pieces this morning preparing for this, and you know, there was a beautifully written story, horrible, from a young woman who had gone for a job interview, and the interviewer, when she got there, said, okay, well, you know, do you know how to use computers, and can you speak English? And then told her that the other thing you need to do is be my girlfriend. And she told him, absolutely not. And she's, you know, her family's destitute. She had to borrow money to get to the interview. And the man threatened her, after he embraced her against her will, that if she said anything, she was going to see the other side of him. Yeah. And I think she'd already seen plenty of him. But yeah, that story is so indicative of what women who really need employment right now, and who've worked so hard to educate themselves, need, and what's happening inside the Taliban's Afghanistan. There was another piece about a 16 or 17-year-old girl who gave birth, and the women who brought her in got her dressed right away afterwards and said, yeah, just sell the baby, because she couldn't, you know, what was she going to do with this child? And the nurse who was attending her sold a ring to pay for the baby's oxygen, because the baby was so low on oxygen, it was blue. And, you know, what happens then to that baby? And, you know, these are stories that we hear about sexual harassment in the workplace here. Absolutely. I've dealt with it. We hear about people saying, I can't have this baby. I'm running from this situation. But these are different. And I encourage everyone to read them, because there's a common humanity here, but there is another aspect to them. And everything I've seen from Zan Times today and before has always been excellent. I'm just really proud of both of you for doing that and getting these stories out. And I want to know, what kind of programs and initiatives are you working on through Zan Times right now?
We had the narratives. You just read two narratives that we recently published. Yes, these are we have lots of narratives. We are trying to say the world by those narratives, that how a woman suffers pain inside Afghanistan. So these are the examples of what is going on inside, and I think there is worse than these stories, that they don't have opportunity to share it with someone, and even not a media, just to share with like a friend. They're all inside the houses, and they are still most of them just feels that it is a normal situation, and they burn good, and to just be like in this like jail that the men made for them. So our focus is just to tell those stories that we have access, and we are trying to find more through those colleagues that we have access to them. And you ask about our plan. What we are trying to do is just recently we just are focusing on investigative reports on human rights issue, mostly on women, and also the other focuses on the accessing to the health services. As you mentioned before, it is not now only the Taliban, the problem that Taliban made for the people. They ban the educational centers for girls and women, and at the other side, the recent ban on the financial aid from the US government, it badly affected the health sector inside Afghanistan, because before the most remote area, they didn't access to the even the very basic services for health. But in the NGOs and those organizations that they were they had support from outside, and those donation from the United States and other countries, they were working with that financial supports in the remote areas. But now, when these supports are banned, they even don't access to those services, and even they lose their lives for a very how can I just a sickness that can be good with a medicine, but as they don't have access right now to the health sector and health facilities, so they are dying with for nothing and for very basic diseases. So the other point that we are trying to focus through Zan Times is this area, and how we are working on this is we at Zan Times, it's our second year that we are training the Afghan girls from different provinces inside Afghanistan. We are training them how to become a journalist, and then trying to we have two parts, and the first is theoretical workshops. After that, we have follow-up 101 how to teach them how to become a journalist, how to interview sources, how to write a narrative, how to write a news and a feature report. So this is a way that we are at the same time we are trying to help those girls who still wants to be a journalist, because the other educational centers and the universities are banned. They don't have opportunity. So one side we are trying to teach them how to become a journalist, and it's an opportunity that they are willing to attend, and they have lots of interest and asking us to just let them to join us in this program. At the same time, we are trying, as you know, after Taliban took over, most of the journalists left Afghanistan, and most of them just afraid, and they are silenced inside the house, and they are not willing to work because they will be in danger. So through these workshops, we are trying to educate new generation of journalists inside Afghanistan, and mostly on those areas that we don't have active journalists. So these are at the same time as a program to educate girls. At the other hand, we just trying to make our sources in different areas of Afghanistan, and through them, we just have trying to have access to the sources, to those women that the other media outlets may not have access to them. And it's the second year. Last year we had around 30, 35 girls, and this year the number is the same. And so through these brave girls, we are trying to find topics that it's not raised through other media outlets.
That's amazing. I feel like I skipped over this and I should have asked you this earlier. What are the biggest threats, especially to women journalists? I mean, I've been covering since August of 2021 the Taliban's slow, removal of rights from women, like being able to travel more than a certain distance alone, or even being able to get into a cab in the passenger seat. From my understanding, I think it was a Zan Times article actually, women in Afghanistan have to travel in the trunk of a cab. So it seems like some of the Taliban's rulings might not be as strict as what the ruling itself says. So sometimes women can travel alone, but they have to travel in this bizarre way. So what are the biggest dangers for someone who does want to work as a female journalist right now inside of Afghanistan, just keeping herself safe amidst all these restrictions?
Yeah, you just mentioned that's a story of one of our colleagues who is still working with us. But just one thing that I want to focus on, our female colleagues are working with us with the support of their male and their family. So the narrative that you mentioned on is one of our colleagues that her, her father is supporting her to follow up her career. And yes, the situation is worse than even worse than we hear. They can't go outside. They can't be without a male guardian. And they, even if they recognize as a journalist, they will be arrested, and they will become in jail. And so maybe it's a question for you in this situation, how we are working. We had our security guidance for those who are working with us. Most of it is in different levels. Just one is working as a with pseudonym, and the other is just we told them to don't say anybody that you are working with Zan Times, or you're a journalist, even among the relatives, near relatives. We have lots of colleagues inside Afghanistan that we are in contact with them. None of them knows about each other. They don't know each other, because our concern was that if one arrested, then the other will be in danger. So from the beginning of our work through Zan Times, it was our how can I say, it was our advice to them, and they were not allowed to contact with the other colleagues, because they don't know each other and they don't have the number. We have lots of reports that work jointly, but the contact person was outside me or other colleagues, and that they just collected information from one and then from the other, and we were not letting them to be in contact and know each other. Even we advised them to don't share our publication stories in their social media, that to avoid any threat that maybe they recognize her or him to. Maybe they have connection with us. So these are the ways that we, during these 3 years of war, we tried to make the environment safe for our colleagues to work with us. But nowadays, the women journalists, they are not too much in the section that they could report the reality, what's going on. They are all mostly in the technical parts, and or sometimes in some program that are not controlled by the Taliban. All the content is controlled with them, and mostly religious programs and like this, they are involved. But these programs and a few province like Kandahar, Helmand, and it was also banned, and the Taliban banned their voice through the radios, and they are not allowed to even speak through the radio and religious program or other normal programs. But in those provinces that they are still working, they are mostly the working from inside house, and sometimes they are working, but not in the main programs of those, because they are not allowed to go outside, as you know, and they are not able to contact with their sources.
Wow, there are so many things I want to say very briefly here. First of all, it's amazing to imagine as a journalist, part of my job is to push out all of the content that I write, to make sure it gets to people so they read it. And it's just amazing to know that that even is something that your journalists can't do for fear of what's going to happen. And for anyone who doubts, I'm sure there are people who will listen to this who will say, well, you don't need to be that careful about the people, that they don't know each other. Yes, you do. I know Americans who've been kidnapped by the Taliban and put in their prisons. I mean, I don't know them directly, but I have been told their story, one person in particular story, so many times that person outed safe houses to the Taliban and put people in danger. People I know directly who were put in danger and terrified for their lives because of what was elicited by the Taliban under duress. So you have to do what you're doing for your sources, and for your journalists. All of this is just, it's terrifying, but it's so important that you're keeping up doing it. And I'd love to hear something you said made me think about something that when we spoke before doing this, we talked about, and it was how deeply you're able to reach into the provinces, because, I've talked to many women since Afghanistan was taken over by the Taliban. And I know that they are a very small fraction of the larger population because they have access to the internet. Not every Afghan woman does. Unfettered, unmonitored access to the internet. There is no man trying to tell them what to do. That's a very small grouping. Most of them are in Kabul. I'm not getting to talk to women. I don't know that I've talked to anyone in Helmand or Kandahar where the Taliban's presence is so pronounced and has been for such a long time. So how deeply are you able to reach into the provinces to explain these really diverse women and the problems that they're facing from province to province? Because the Taliban, yes, there's the overarching Taliban, right? The ones in control. But local Taliban might have a slightly different interpretation of something, or might go after women in a certain way in a certain province. So how deeply are you able to penetrate and see how women's experiences differ from area to area. And can you talk about any of those differences? You know, what you're seeing maybe in the West versus the South versus the North, where, I mean, the North could be especially interesting because of the Tajiks whom the Taliban associate with the NRF. And we know that they have killed lots of Tajiks. So, yeah, I would love to hear about that very large aspect of this whole thing.
Yeah, during our work, as I mentioned before, we focus to have journalists from the society, those who are in contact with the other women. So we just built this connections with them through the program, the mentorship program that we have, and also through the our journalists that we worked before with them. So now we have, so for some security reason, I don't want to focus on the area where they are, but we have the women who are in contact with the women, and they are a part of those society. They are living and they are suffering those restrictions, and we try to collect information from them, and we have, as I said, in a different part of Afghanistan, and just you the difference is the place to places, the restriction, as you said, it is too much, the difference between, because the provinces like Kandahar, Helmand, and those, they are tradition society, and it was even during the presidential regime, there was they were in the restrict rules. Even right now, they have those restrictions. They don't have even the support of their males inside their family, but it is a little bit good in the north, and in the big cities, that I say the male's role is still um, important for those women who are still active, because without their support, they would not be able to continue. So from the other part of Afghanistan, and mostly Tajik people, they and Hazara, the family is like as a supporter. But in the other in south and east provinces, so as with those colleagues that we are in contact with them, they have, yeah, still their the support of the family. That's why they are able to work, and but the most families are not willing to support. It have tradition rules, and at the same time they are afraid of, and they don't want to make the member of the family in danger. So there is a different situation than for some reason I can't mention. I will focus on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Privacy is important, obviously. Well, Kreshma, I would love to give you the final word. Is there anything I didn't ask about, or anything you want to make sure that listeners hear about Zan Times, or about women in Afghanistan, or about, you know, the situation for refugees of this whole conflict? Anything. The floor is yours.
Just for final words, just we, I don't know who will be the audience, but I respect all, and I ask them just to have their supports for to Afghan women, especially those who are foreign audience, because Afghan women itself, themselves, in a very crisis situation, and to be alive, and to find their um, stage that they should be. They need the support from outside friends and human lover. So I I I I I I'm asking just their supports through uh, their governmental policies. The people have very power, and they can even change the policies that the governments are applying. So they can ask for support. And also at Zan Times, I didn't focus before. We are trying our best to continue to raise the only power that we have is that just we can raise the voices, and we are waiting the audience and those who can help them and who can change the policies, who can change the world. We're just waiting for their help. Even we just in our very small organization, we need the support, because now our main problem is financial problem. That because after um, all the media in Afghanistan are working through the projects that's supported from foreign countries. So recently we also faced this financial problem, that we lost two of our main project that they were supporting us, and they were able to, we were able to continue our work through those financial supports. So it is now banned, and we are again at the point that we start Zan Times, and we are trying our own capacity that to still do something for Afghan women, and those minorities that they don't have access to raise the voices. So I just need the support. We in sometimes, and the other women inside Afghanistan needs support from those who can. But I think people around the world made this or the whole society. So their support, their decision made can make the differences on the decision of the governments, and just asking them to not let their countries to recognize Taliban as a government inside Afghanistan, because day by day they are making the life for all Afghans restricted and in danger. And even I don't know if you heard about the last case that we published. It was published, and it was in war. The Taliban trying to force marriage a girl, and she burned herself and died. So if they be still in Afghanistan, so the situation of women should be even burning, or at the other side, and marriage, like with a Talib and force marriage. So these are the examples, and we are afraid of if they had opportunity to last longer. So the situation should be worse than what it is like right now.
Yes, the story of, I think her name was Abida
Yes,
in
Abida.
Gower. That was horrible.
Yeah,
I saw it shared everywhere, which
yeah,
is obviously horrible, but also good that it is being shared because it just shows what Lynn O'Donnell said from the beginning. Literally, when the Taliban were storming through all these places, she said they're taking women as brides in these places. And the Taliban arrested her over that when she came to Afghanistan to report on what was happening there. They arrested her and made her retract her journalism. And they're continuing to do it. And it's so important to tell the truth. And you're right, hold all of these governments accountable, and make sure that they are not recognizing this regime because it is inhumane. And we spent at least, I think it was $780 million on initiatives to help women in Afghanistan over 20 years. Many more than that. This is from research that the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, Sagar, did. And as they said, that doesn't even include all of it because so many programs weren't identified as supporting women, but they did support women in small ways or in big ways. So we put so much money and time, and people lost their lives in this country to help Afghan women, and a lot of Afghans, far more Afghans, lost their lives to try to build back up a country that the Taliban destroyed. And so to recognize them would just be unconscionable because they are doing the same things they have done before. So I agree with everything you said, Kreshma, and I just thank you so much for sharing your story and talking about the really important work that you're doing at Zan Times. And for Afghan women, I really appreciate you being here to talk about those really tough topics.
thank you so much, Beth. I know you are trying hard to raise also, you are helping us to raise the voices of women inside Afghanistan. I also really appreciate the work you are doing. And also, just as a final word, I want to say to the audience that the situation inside Afghanistan is like the women have most of the time they don't have other way to resist, so they just choose the even burning herself to resist against the situation that Taliban is making for them. So in this way, we appreciate any support or any awareness that as you're doing right now. So they need your help and they need to be heard. Thank you again, and I really appreciate your support.
It's an honor to be able to do it. And I want to thank everyone for sharing your time, for supporting the people of Afghanistan and supporting the women of Afghanistan. There are so many ways to show your support for them. I think reading what Zan Times is doing and sharing it widely and making sure that we're not quiet about what's happening to women in Afghanistan. Because if you think that what happens to women in Afghanistan does not affect you, you need to look at the world in a broader way. It does, in fact, impact all women. Because the more that the rights are tightened somewhere else, the more leaders in other countries can say, well, hey, they got away with it in Afghanistan. We can do it here. So, with that being said, Tasha Kaur, and I hope to see all of you again soon.
Tashakkur, and it was my pleasure to be in your program today.